In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to reduce and cut out cancels and no-shows in your healthcare practice. And in the video, I'll show you three strategies and three tools. Three strategies that we're going to look at. Number one, exactly why things like cancellation policies, putting a credit card on file, all that stuff really doesn't work and why it doesn't work. Number two, what we'll do is I'll show you the exact way your front desk can help screen out people who are going to be tire kickers and not actually going to show up. And then the last one, number three, what I'll do is I will show you the exact strategy I use to remind patients and getting them excited to actually want to show up for that appointment. Now, this is the exact strategy I've used in my practice and what we've implemented with our recent client, Cole, who improved his show up rate to 90% for all of his new patients. That includes Facebook ads as well as Google ads. Super tough to do. Now, number one, what are the big things we're going to be looking to do here? Cancels and no shows, they wreak havoc on your schedule. You got people that are showing up when you could have put it on another patient. This is especially problematic if you are a cash practice where you are working one on one with somebody trying to get them a high level outcome. And we absolutely have to cut down on this. Otherwise, you're losing out on a ton of potential revenue that should be coming in the door. And it's going to decrease the profitability of your ads if you're running Facebook or Google ads. So let's get right to it here. Number one, why did people try a cancellation policy and putting a credit card on file? I get it. I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to cut down on the cancels and no shows, but this is a downstream solution to an upstream problem. What do I mean by that? The expectation's already been set, the value has already been provided or not. And if that person's not going to show up, they usually have it in their mind already before that appointment even comes up. Now, this is especially problematic for somebody that's maybe a colder lead from your website or running Facebook ads and those kind of things. But when I put a cancellation policy and I'm talking to somebody on the phone or it's in my paperwork, if I remind them of that, do you think that that's actually going to get that person to want to show up? Probably not, because they're not even going to open the paperwork, right? They're not even going to show up for the first appointment where you guys bring that up. Or if you do bring it up on the phone, it's kind of in one ear and out the other. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just thinking about whether or not I'm actually like, is this the right place and is now the right time for me to get my issue fixed? And that's why bringing up a cancellation policy or threatening patients with it just simply doesn't work, especially if it's a new eval. The last thing I want to do is just simply give these people, beat them over the head with a cancel policy. Kind of just leaves a bad taste in their mouth, right? Now, the same thing with a credit card on file, right? It's kind of a similar thing. It has the potential to set the relationship off on the wrong foot. Most people aren't even going to trust you, especially if you're running cold traffic, Google ads, Facebook ads. They're not going to want you to put a credit card on file. They don't really understand. They don't see why they would even need to do that. Now you can get creative and flowery with the language, but even if you get that person to show up, oftentimes they're not right. They're not the right type of client that you want in the practice. And now these people again are canceling and no showing their future appointments. And it all comes back to that first phone call, setting the tone and getting the right type of people into the practice. Now, I think bringing up it's great to have a cancel policy. We have a cancel policy in our practice, and we're reminding patients of that. And I think that tends to be more helpful for the back end of the plan of care. But cancels and no shows are a huge problem for that especially that first visit. So once we get, that's really why those cancels and no shows those policies don't help for the first visit. It's all about providing value and it's all about diving deep into the phone conversation with these prospective clients. Now, if I'm looking at ways we do that, that brings us to point number two, which is I need your front desk, and this is what we have in our front desk, to weed out tire kickers and folks who have no intention of showing up. Like if you talk to your front desk and they schedule somebody, especially for colder traffic, I find that oftentimes they're fairly intuitive and they know, yeah, I don't know if this person's going to show up, or I'm a little worried about that. Or even sometimes they're surprised. They're like, "Oh, I'm kind of surprised that that person didn't show up. And it's all because we mismanaged value. And maybe that person had some fear, doubt, or uncertainty in their mind when we were talking to them. And so what we need to be able to do is we need to have a very high value based conversation with this prospective patient. We need to spend probably 10 minutes minimum talking with that person, getting to know them, making sure that they're the right fit for us as well, and that they actually have some goals beyond, hey, I just want to get out of pain, or hey, I was hoping to just have an assessment, right? Like those are typically keywords for somebody who's going to cancel or no show. And the big turning point, or the big point in which we want to try to weed these people out, is historically in the back end of the phone conversation. When we have, we ask them about when they want to come in for the appointment, and kind of getting them scheduled. And you can kind of just listen to their tonality. And I will typically ask a patient, hey, are you ready to get, how does that sound? Are you ready to get scheduled for your initial evaluation? And if I get these like single monotone, like not real excited answers, then I'm probably like, this patient's probably not going to be, I need to overcome that, their fear, doubt, and uncertainty, or they're not going to be the best fit. And if you detect any ounce of uncertainty in their voice, that's where your front desk needs to step in, and they need to ask them questions. And typically, my favorite thing to do at that point is, well, you sound a little unsure. I just want to make sure, do you have any like questions, like comments, or concerns? Or you sound like you might be a little unsure. Is there any other questions I can help you answer? And that provides an outlet and a way for this person to now open up and ask you specific questions. And that's what we absolutely want to answer, is those specific questions. Because if we let that person just kind of aimlessly wander, and they have fear, doubt, and uncertainty, and we get them scheduled, we tell them about our cancel policy, they hang up, you know what they're going to do? They're going to text in, and they're going to text you, or they're going to email you or call in and say, hey, I'm not coming, or flat out just won't come at all. And we could have detected that. We should have heard in their voice they sound a little unsure, and we need to make sure that they have some goals beyond just getting out of pain, right? Or just merely getting an evaluation. If we hear those things, our guards need to be up, and we need to be making sure that these people don't have any questions, and we're actually handling their objections. Because most of y'all's front desk, they're very good at talking, and they'll just blast someone right through, and they'll push them through to their first visit by getting them scheduled, and they'll hear nothing, all because they just kind of bulldozed them and actually didn't answer any of their questions there at the end. So that's the big thing. Weed it out before it happens. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And don't just like not schedule them, but actually have a conversation with them and answer their questions at the end of the phone call. That's been a game changer for us, and an absolute needle mover for a lot of our clients as well. Now, the third and final piece of this is, yeah, you got to have some type of reminder process. So, what's a reminder process that actually gets the prospect excited? And if they're not responding to our, reminder processes, like how do I go about actually getting this person to answer or canceling their appointment? Now, I think a reminder process is big. A lot of folks EMR reminds patients, like I know ours does, where it just sends a reminder message, lets them know, hey, this is when your appointment is, this is when it's coming up. uh, the other big things I like to do is I like to send a text message right after these people schedule, and it reminds them of their time and their appointment. They get an email reminder about it. And then what happens is actually 48 hours out, I like to make some manual touch points. Depending on the type of traffic, we will usually make a phone call the day 48 hours out, just to remind them of their appointment. If I haven't heard from them that day, especially if they haven't filled their paperwork out, I will usually also text them and remind them, "Hey, John, I'm really looking forward to working with you. What's going to be really helpful for me is actually if you fill out your new patient paperwork. That's going to help me serve you best during that appointment. If you could take a moment, please fill that out." Now, if I'm 24 hours out and I still haven't heard them do that, then I need to be a little bit more aggressive with, how I'm getting out to these people. And so I'll send a phone call out that says, with a voicemail that says, "Hey, John, I haven't heard back from you yet. I was just a little bit worried about you being able to make your appointment. Uh, I will unfortunately have to cancel your appointment if I haven't heard back from you." And then I'll shoot them a text of something similar to it as well. Now, if I haven't heard from that person, they're not going to come in, right? And we missed something on the phone call. We need to go back. We need to audit it. We need to try to do some quality checks and figure out why that happened in the first place. Was it a phone call issue, value issue, or was it was it just a patient quality issue? Which more often than not, it's a phone call, not a quality thing. Um, but the other big thing is a part of getting somebody to show up is we need to get them excited and we need to have some type of onboarding sequence, whether it be a combination of text and emails and something that's automated that lets them know what to expect at the first visit. The last thing I want them is to be, if they were a little unsure or a little on the fence to begin with, they're going to be really like not in great shape or not super excited about the appointment. If maybe they're fearful of dry needling and their buddy was dry needled and they're waiting to figure out exactly what to expect and maybe they didn't ask it on the phone and then now you don't have any touch points with them to get them excited before the eval, like they may be less inclined to show up. And so a welcome email sequence can go a long way. Maybe have some testimonials in there and some other really great outcomes that have happened with with your other clients. Maybe it includes some Google reviews and kind of just what to expect for the first visit, and then warming them up before they actually come into the clinic, especially about how to find the clinic. All of those things can be really helpful in getting that person excited. But sometimes you do have to add some manual processes in there. Now, you can tell the vast majority of this video I've spent on, really the front end of this. I think the cancellation policy, I think having a card on file, I think having a reminder system in place is all decently helpful stuff, but the vast majority of people who are canceling or no showing is simply because there was a value or expectation mismatch. And we catch that on the first phone call. And point number two of saying, hey, your front desk has to be the gatekeeper for this stuff. That is absolutely going to move the needle more than anything else that I talked about here today. And that's what I want you to spend your time on. Go back, audit those phone calls, spend some time digging into the people who canceled or no showed and constantly refine it. I mean, we had issues with this in my practice as we started to grow and scale, and I kind of stepped outside of most of the primary provider that treated in the practice. And all of it came back to how much time I was spending with my front desk, quality checking, working on some of these cancels and no shows, and getting folks where they want to go. So, I'd love it if you found this helpful. You can click on the screen. There's going to be another video that will pop up here. You can find a ton of other videos about how to maximize your front desk and how to maximize your practice so that you can get back to growing and not worrying about constantly finding new patients, but instead capturing what you already have coming in the door.